I normally don't have notes at all, but I brought notes for myself today, and I'll be heavily reliant on just to keep me short, concise, and on track, because I typically get literally 8 to 12 hours to present what I have 30 minutes for today. So I want to make sure that I get it all fit in. First of all, thank you all very much. I'm Jamie. I'm the owner of Revolution World Fitness, and as you learned before, I am a personal trainer, but also I'm a nutritional therapy practitioner. I grew up on a farm in northern Minnesota. I am very, very thankful. I mean, that's where my roots are, and I grew up very healthy because of that. We raised or hunted all of our own meats. We had a gigantic garden that we grew all of our own veggies. Those were our snacks and our meals. We were always outdoors, very active. We did not have a television. My first screen time in life was my Nokia phone in college. So we were very healthy. And as I entered into adulthood and was off of the farm and suddenly had this world where there's like fast food and Starbucks, and I worked at Starbucks in college, so that's where my freshman 15 came from. It was not from keg stands, it was definitely from Frappuccinos. But I got really lost in the chaos of the marketing buzzwords surrounding nutrition. Trying to search and seek out information about nutrition was really confusing to me because it seemed like there were conflicting studies to prove everything, and the only nutritional training I'd ever had in my life was every year in elementary school we would have a worksheet on the food pyramid during National Nutrition Month, and that was about it. And so I was really confused. I thought that fat made me fat, and I used sugar and caffeine for energy. I focused on calories, and worse yet, I was in it because I wanted to look good. Like every 18-year-old, I was on board the bus with the Be Bikini Ready by and set date, and that was about it. I wasn't focused on longevity or vitality. Over the next 10 years, I declined physically and mentally, and but I was conditioned to believe that that was normal, that my slower cognitive level and my lack of energy and bloating and skin issues, I thought that all of those things were just normal because a lot of my peers were experiencing the same things. As I looked into it further, as I mentioned, a lot of my peers were experiencing that, but nobody really knew what was going on. I mean, about that time, that's when gluten-free was becoming a big buzzword. We have sugar-free, which must be healthier, right? Fat-free, of course, is healthier because it's in big letters on the front of the box. Farm fresh, fair trade, all of these organic, who knows what. I mean, look at the packages of eggs, which cage-free versus free-range versus, and I was so confused with all of that. And the more research I did, the more I realized that science can prove anything depending on who's funding the study. And that was really hard for me. When there's money to be made, everyone wants a piece of that. And the fitness industry is a big piece of that. In 2014 alone, the fitness industry brought in $84.3 billion, which is unbelievable to me, especially when you think of what they're selling. The fitness industry is selling the same thing over and over and over and over again, but they repackage it, they give it a cute new name, and find some new six-pack guy to cover, be on the cover of it, or girl, and what they're really selling is common sense. Eat right, exercise, repeat. That's truly it. There is no big multi-million-dollar secret to it as long as you're doing it right within those categories. There's never been, and there will never be, a magic pill, a secret solution, one-size-fits-all, gizmo, gadget, works while you sleep, body wrap, or any of those things that are going to get you any kind of sustainable solution or results for the long term. Especially with a lot of those programs too, they're so unsustainable that they put an end date on them, which is crazy too. P90X. I did the first 30 days of P90X 3 times, so I think I technically graduated, but not really. And that's what everybody's doing, because it's really not sustainable to put yourself through that, especially if you hadn't been doing anything prior to it. That's essentially why we end up burning out. But once I ended up actually realizing that fitness could be a big part of my life and really changed my life, it revolutionized my life, I fell in love with it and decided that I needed to start helping other people to realize this. It's easy to say, bless you, it's easy to say the common sense piece. What are you eating and what are you doing? And that's our grand plan. That's what we need to figure out. But it is more complicated than that. On a very simple level, calories in, calories out. We hear that a lot. But I'll say there's only truth in that, in the sense of saying that if you are eating more calories than you are burning, you're going to store fat. If you are burning more calories than you are taking in, you are going to lose weight. But the more complex science of it makes us realize that it's not that simple, not nearly so much. A calorie is simply a measurement. And so if we're building a house, we can't call the lumberyard and say, I want 600,000 pounds of materials. They're gonna say, okay, well, what specifically do you need? Because we need very specific things. Our body needs the same things. So to just say all calories are created equal is lunacy. Our body needs specific things. God made us these miraculous machines that if you throw a McDonald's cheeseburger at it, it can be like, well, I guess I can do this with it. And it can keep you alive, but generally speaking, we need to make sure that we're eating the right foods. And if you do, it will profoundly impact your life. So back to the fitness side, because they are so intertwined. The food and fitness piece, you cannot have one without the other. And so I go back and forth. That's why I do both, the personal trainer and the nutritional side. But back to the fitness piece, the $1 million secret is just do it. Nike had that right. Sweat every day. As they said in the Daniel plan, do something that you love to do. And if you aren't doing that, if you're doing too much, we'll talk a little bit more about that later on, but that's where you're setting yourself up for failure. So this is the slide that was supposed to be up when I talked about all that. It's really pretty. So let me ask you this. Does God care about fitness?
Absolutely.
Absolutely, for sure. We heard some of that in the Daniel plan, and we can, it's hard to see those up there, but in Romans 12:1, I plead with you to give your bodies to God because of all he has done for you. Let them be a living and holy sacrifice, the kind you will find acceptable. This is truly the way to worship him. And this is one that they used, thank you, in the Daniel plan as well, because this is saying truly, this is how we worship God. Another one is from Corinthians. Don't you realize that your body is the temple of the Holy Spirit who lives in you and was given to you by God? You do not belong to yourself. There are several ways that this is reworded throughout the Bible, but it most definitely says, yes, God does care. So why? Why does God care about our fitness?
I like when they said you have to be ready for God to call you. And if your body's not ready, you're too tired or sick, and you can't answer that call.
Mm-hmm. And I think it leaves it to so much room for definition. I think that the question at hand is, well, what is fitness? Because no one on this planet is more knowledgeable than Google. And if you Google fitness, this is what fitness is. For the ladies and for the guys, if you ask Siri, this is what fitness is. The condition of being physically fit and healthy, the quality of being suitable to fulfill a particular role or task, an organism's ability to survive and reproduce in a particular environment. Alongside with what the Daniel plan is saying, let's allow God to change the way we think about fitness. Romans 12:2 is one of my favorite sayings. It's also really common in the Daniel plan. It's the one that I picked up for my entire ministry, so I love this one. Do not copy the behavior and customs of this world, but let God transform you into a new person by changing the way you think. This picture was taken, it's so much prettier on my laptop. That's a poppy, and it's like brilliant red. But I took that picture in northern Italy when I was running out and about. All the pictures that I have in my slideshow today are all from pictures, or they're all pictures from when I was out running throughout my life and had my phone, I would stop and take a picture of something. As I ventured out into the corporate world, a lifestyle of chronic sitting, I realized how quickly my health was declining. I was really blessed to have been raised very, very healthy, so I knew this difference. I knew that this is how I used to feel, and I don't feel that way anymore, and I really missed the endorphins and had to get back to that. So for the very first time in my life, in my 20s, I stepped into a gym, and my farmer father made so much fun of me. He's like, you're gonna pay somebody else to go move their stuff around, and he's like, come up here, you can pay me all you want to split wood and throw hay bales and pick rock. But I needed that. Most of us don't have access to physical labor jobs anymore. And so once I got back into it again, I started to instantly become re-addicted to those endorphins, and I vowed to myself I would never ever fall off the bus, at least for a lengthy period of time, ever again. So 3 years later, and this is the story that Stacy was talking about, I was traveling around the world as the director of marketing for a hydrogen energy company. As I was traveling, though I loved the gym atmosphere, I loved weight training, I loved running, but I had to ask God to change the way that I think about this, because I didn't have access to gym facilities, so I became a runner. And honestly, I loved it. It became me and God time. I was also very blessed that my running was done in rural Alaska and northern Italy and beautiful places. But really a lot of it, I wasn't focusing on the running. I was focusing on how beautiful everything was and my time with God and just thinking. And it really became a meditation piece for me. So while I was on a due diligence tour in Italy, I was involved in a really bad car accident. We rolled end over end in a Fiat and landed upside down in a drainage ditch. I remember two things from that night. I remember I was wearing a dress with a business suit coat over the top, and I remember crawling across the gravel and my knees were hurting from all the rocks, and I remember fluid just pouring out of my mouth. And it was dark, so I couldn't tell if that was blood or what that was, but it was pouring out of my mouth. The second part that I remember was that standard in movies you see all the time where you're on a stretcher and the fluorescent lights are flashing above because they're running you down the hallway at the hospital. And I was freezing cold because they had cut all my clothes off of me. And I remember the doctor, a very, very thick Italian accent, she had her face right above mine, and she was saying, Jamie, breathe. And I remember the sound of myself trying to breathe. And it was like, and I remember thinking in that moment, I've heard this sound before. I used to be a 911 operator, and I told myself in that moment, this is the sound of somebody dying. And that's the last thing I remembered until 3 days later. I woke up in ICU. I was in a CPAP bubble. I had bilateral respiratory failure. My lungs had completely collapsed. And I had a multitude of other injuries, but that was the most severe. So I spent 3 days unconscious, 2 weeks total in ICU, and then went out into recovery. And one of the biggest things for me coming out of this is my doctors told me that there is no way you would have ever survived this accident had you not been in such good physical shape going into it. And I will argue, had I not been in such good spiritual shape going into it, the results would have been very different as well. So as I laid in bed, unable to speak, because there were like 2 people in the entire hospital that knew English, and neither of them were in ICU. They just came in to translate when we couldn't figure things out. So lying there in bed with nothing but my Bible, I had a whole lot of time for God to pour into me. And I quickly realized that I was in the wrong career field. Although hydrogen energy is very exciting, I knew that I now had this set obligation to tell the rest of the world that when you are physically healthy and spiritually healthy and holistically healthy in general, your life is saved in so many ways. So with that being said, it's really scary where we are today, because the average American employee sits 7.7 to 15 hours per day, which is a staggering amount, especially considering the Mayo Clinic says that just sitting 3 to 4 hours at a time is the equivalent to being a pack and a half per day smoker. The University of Missouri says that all of their studies prove 3 to 4 hours of sitting shuts off the body's ability to burn fat efficiently. There are enzymes in our body that become unuseful to us if we are sitting for that long. And it's a crisis in America. I mean, we've all seen these statistics time and time again. We're sick, and sicker, and it's getting worse. And worse yet, it's spreading into our kids. It's not just adults that we're talking about now. Our youth is experiencing this. So, as we were each made uniquely, and we have these special gifts that we were given, and these special tasks that we were given from God, our ability to do that is greatly impaired when we're sitting lethargic, in a fog, depressed, and lacking energy and overall unhealth. So when we look at revisiting the definition of fitness, I think this one is the most accurate. The quality of being suitable to fulfill a particular role or task. In the Bible, in Timothy, it says, do not neglect the spiritual gift you received. In Ephesians, for we are God's masterpiece. He has created us anew in Christ Jesus, so we could do the good things he planned for us long ago. In Romans, just as our bodies have many parts and each part has a special function, so it is with Christ's body. We are many parts of one body, and we all belong to each other. In his grace, God has given us different gifts for doing certain things well. In Ephesians, he makes the whole body fit together perfectly, as each part does its own special work. It helps the other parts grow so that the whole body is healthy and growing and full of love. Again in Corinthians, you can see it spread all throughout the Bible that we can read these. But our bodies have many parts, and God has put each part just where he wants it. In verse 27, it continues to say, all of you together are Christ's body, and each of you is a part of it. Colossians, be sure to carry out the ministry the Lord gave you. So as I was lying in this bed in Italy for 2 weeks, with a whole lot of time to think, I thought, imagine a world where, it's going to pause on me, but I thought, imagine a world where we are each living out our specific purpose to the fullest extent, where we are that piece that God put here in its place for that specific task. If we were all doing that, if we were healthy in every way and able to do that, imagine how different this world would be. So fitness on a holistic level, mental, physical, spiritual, emotional, and relational fitness. So where do we start? Here and now. Mark Twain said the secret to getting ahead is getting started. So So many people are like, oh, well, I have that big wedding coming up, and I know I'm going to eat a lot, so I'm not going to start till after that. I'm going to drink a lot that weekend, or, you know, we have this going on, or I'm really stressed about that, so now's really not a good time to start on this plan. But the thing is, there's no time like the present. The Bible reminds us in many different places, these are 3 specific ones that I want to call your attention, that there is a major sense of urgency here. In Psalm, Lord, remind me how brief my time on earth will be. Remind me that my days are numbered, how fleeting my life is. In James, one of my favorites, why you don't even know what will happen tomorrow. What is your life? You are a mist that appears for a little while and then vanishes. In Psalm, our days on earth are like grass, like wildflower. We bloom and die. The wind blows and we are gone. So, all of these things collectively, we know that we should be healthy. We need to be healthy. We want to be healthy. So, then why this vicious cycle of starting something and we're doing good, we've lost a bunch of weight or we're feeling great, and then we get back down to the bottom again and we end up on this off the bus state for a period of time until we're back on and then fail again. What I believe a lot of it is, outside of the distractions of our world and our perception of lack of time because of all of these distractions that we have, but also how fitness is presented, all those images when you search fitness and what it looks like in that sense, and these types of things. No pain, no gain, or if it's not hurting, it's not working. You see the covers of fitness magazines at the grocery store, and these Photoshop people are completely beyond anything I would ever achieve physically. And it's hard. Theodore Roosevelt said, comparison is the thief of joy. And I think we look at those things as that's what we're supposed to be striving to be, and yet it's completely unrealistic because those people aren't even real, they're Photoshopped. And so, and they put their bodies through horrible things just to get to the point where they'd be good enough to Photoshop to be on that cover. In Ecclesiastes it says, enjoy what you have rather than desiring what you don't. We can also liken this to the 10th commandment, thou shalt not covet. We each need to just focus on what we have and where we are at in our unique position and rock it. You know, we can always find somebody who's doing it better than us and is, you know, unfairly ahead, but look the other way for a little while. There are so many other people who don't have it nearly as good as each of us. So where to start? Start with thanking God. First of all, every single one of us walked in here on our own 2 legs. That is a huge step ahead of what some people in this world are experiencing when they're looking at their diet and fitness plan. So just simple things like that to be so grateful for this body that works in the way that it does. And thank you for making me so wonderfully complex. Your workmanship is marvelous. How well I know it. Anyone that wants to write down like these types of things and put them in your car, put them on your mirror, put them in places in your house to remind you of that is a really good thing to have, to constantly see that. I do have a couple of cards. I have Romans 12:2 and then Chronicles verse that I have on little cards if you want to take with you when you leave, you can put them on there. The next step, to repent. Lord, please forgive me. And whatever it is that you need to say after that, because I think each of us, myself included, very much so, to some extent, I have neglected this body. I've taken it for granted, and I have not honored it in the way that the Bible dictates I should. And so start there as well. Additionally, from James chapter 3, it talks about controlling your tongue. What have you been telling yourself? When I work with clients and I hear the things that they say about themselves and to themselves, I think, and I have started to call them out on it, if those words that you're telling yourself were coming from a person in your life, a friend of yours, you would never hang out with that person. You would not be friends with you if you were someone else telling you this stuff. So why are you feeding yourself this negativity? So start over for the very last time. That's one big thing that I think gets kind of lost in this whole before and after pictures of the world. we have the before picture and the after picture, but truly, there's no after picture. There sure shouldn't be. There should be a before picture and then progress pictures. Sometimes your progress might be a couple steps backwards, but as long as we're trending in the right direction and not recircling back, that's great. Some other things to do, go slow. Take it slow and actually be realistic in what you're doing. And cut yourself some slack. Be positive and push yourself, but also be realistic. H. Jackson Brown Jr. says, in confrontation between the stream and the rock, the stream always wins. Not through strength, but by perseverance. And I love that one because it is true to so many things in our lives. Other things, start small. As I said before, just figure out what it is that you would enjoy doing. Further down the, I think I'd say maybe on the next page or something. No, choose fitness activities that make you smile. That's one that is huge, you know. But don't be afraid to try new things just on the premise that you think you don't enjoy them. Give it a shot.
So did you trademark that accountability buddy?
I didn't. I thought I created that. And then I searched it because I was going to go on a trademark, and Live Strong uses it too, but they also don't have a trademark, so somebody else created it first. I don't know, but anyways, it's great. I've been using it for many years. Pick an accountability buddy, but have a plan, schedule it, and stick to it. One of the big things for me is that I really, really want to emphasize listening to your body, because your body is telling you exactly what it needs, from food to fitness, rest, all of those things, water. You just have to know what that sounds like. But the thing is, if you need rest, you will know it the night before. Every single time that your alarm goes off in the morning and you're supposed to get up and go to the gym, you're going to be tired. It's not right then that you need to make that decision of whether or not you need rest. There is an exception to that, like if you didn't get a good night's sleep. But generally speaking, tell yourself, no matter what, I'm getting up at this time tomorrow morning, if that's what your workout time is, and do not make any exceptions to that rule. When your alarm goes off, set your alarm across the room so you have to get out of bed to turn it off. And then go. Give it 2 weeks. 2 weeks of anything new, and after that, it will be so much easier. The first week is pretty terrible, I'll tell you that much, but I'm an early morning workout person because that's just what works with my schedule, and I will say, if you've never tried that, I encourage you to do so. Another thing, and it's harder in Minnesota in the winter, but there are tons of outdoor things that you can do also, but turn exercise into me and God time. It is a lot harder if you're thumping on a treadmill, but if you can find time to get outside, go enjoy some outdoor me and God time. It's fantastic. A recruiter friend, Misery Loves Company, is totally kidding, just so everybody knows. But do, like, bring in a buddy to come and work out with you. Find somebody that that enjoys the same things and will be a good one. I've picked terrible friends to join me before, and I'd be like, I get to their house and I'm rip roaring ready to go, and I'm like, well, join us, come in, have some coffee first, and the next thing you know, we're all off track. So find a good one. Track your progress. There are tons and tons and tons of apps that are available for you to be able to do that. I'm on MyFitnessPal for food. If anybody ever wants to connect and just let me know when I have new clients, I let them connect with me and food stalk me for a while, because that's always their question, like, well, what do you eat? And so I'll log it so that they can watch fitness, track what you're doing, even if it's just in a notebook, so that you can track your progress and you can celebrate your successes, but not with a vine of Girl Scout cookies. It's not what we're talking about. So most people do. And they're like, I don't know why I'm not making any progress. I did so good with my run. It's like, well, yeah, but those Thin Mints on the way home didn't help your cause. Build in different rewards, like massages or whatever it is that will get you inspired. Do that. And you can do some things at work too. Start or join the wellness committee at work if you have one of those. Check into wellness incentives and get part of their gym membership covered by insurance nowadays. Ask your company about standing desks and equipment. Most of them have money available to do that, like the larger companies do, and you can get the desks where they rise, those are a little more expensive. But even just like under the table, when I was a dispatcher, we had an awesome supervisor, and she brought in all kinds of like under the desk equipment that you can get. Look into it, and if it's not something your company will provide, see if it's something that you can invest in on your own. They're not too terribly expensive. And then building mini workouts throughout your day. When I was working a desk job all the time, every time that I'd go to the bathroom, I would do push-ups on the counter in the bathroom, and I would do squats, and I'd have a set number that I did every single time. And by the end of the day, I was always astonished with how many reps I had done, and it's on the clock, so that's good. but there are lots of things. I can give you way more ideas on that, but I don't want to spend a lot of time on it right now. Embrace the basics. If you search stuff online and you see people doing things like this, don't do that. Every fitness guru that has an Instagram account wants to come up with these brand new revolutionary exercises. And truthfully, the push-ups and sit-ups and dips and body weight exercises, do some lunges, those types of things are really good, and they work at all levels of fitness. So start there and make it fun. Meetup groups are awesome. If you have not checked out Meetup yet, there are some really fantastic groups for anybody and everybody, like groups that have huskies over the age of 12 to like very specific groups that you can lock into. It's crazy. Fitness classes are fun for a lot of people. Give them a try, but remember, one of the clients that I was talking to today, she'd said that she tried Body Pump and was so just like, I can't do any of this, and was really, really down on herself about not being able to keep up. And I told her, and it was honest, very honest, I was in really, really good shape the first time I tried Body Pump, but the truth is, if you're not using those muscle groups in those specific ways, it will be hard at first, no matter how good of shape you're in. And so that just says it's something that's good for you to do. If it was easy, it probably wouldn't be the right one. So there are tons of different leagues. Pickleball league is the new big thing that the Ys are doing, which I know I will eventually be roped into. And flash mobs. There are cards back there for flash mobs too, for anybody who wants to join in on the next one. Use your resources. There's so many free apps and resources, but don't get stuck surfing the app store for hours. And I mean, again, I'll talk to clients, they're like, yeah, well, you know, I was on this website, and I saw this, and I was on that website, and I'm like, okay, but what did you actually do? Exercise my fingers. That's about it. Some general rules of thumb. Muscle burns energy. A lot of women are really afraid of weight training because they think they're going to end up looking like those bodybuilder ladies, and it's really, 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 really hard to get to look like that. So it doesn't accidentally happen, I promise. More muscle equals a higher metabolism. So studies show that exercising 45 to 60 minutes per day, or any time, I guess, can increase your metabolic rate for up to 48 hours. So you're not just getting that burn while you're there and then it shuts off. You will actually have that higher metabolic rate for an extended period of time. Don't get stuck in routine as you're doing things. I mentioned if it's easy, it's probably not right for you. Not that it needs to be crazy hard where you're burning out. You don't want to do that. But as you do things, as it gets easier, make it harder for yourself. Increase your speed, your incline, your elevation, your pace, your reps, your sets. Add some weight. I have lots of weight packs that I use, not anymore because they won't fit around me. But I use a lot of weight packs in everything that I do for making things just a little bit more difficult. That makes it easier for doing stuff at home as well. Some more quick notes for your journey. Eat food as close to the way that God put it on this earth as possible. That is the most simple way of looking at food. Food is very complicated. Bacon, for instance, bacon is really good for you if you are eating bacon that, like for instance, mine comes from my family's farm. I know that they have not been fed hormones or antibiotics or other animal proteins. And so, bacon that's coming, on the other hand, from a feedlot in Nebraska, where they have been fed disgusting things and tons of antibiotics, those toxins that they have in their bodies are a lot of that is stored right in their fat. And so bacon's very fatty, and you're going to get a lot of those toxins. So that's why you can't just say bacon is bad for you. But people will, as a general rule of thumb, you'll see that with a lot of these diets, and not just because of the fat phobics, but also because of those things, because it's really complex. Anybody and everybody is welcome to call me and ask questions on those types of things, because nutrition is such a big piece of it. Drink quality water. As often as you can, drink spring water. Make sure that if you're drinking water like tap water, you can add just a pinch of sea salt to it, which will add some of those trace minerals and allow you to better use your body to better use that water. Otherwise, water that's lacking all the minerals goes through your body seeking minerals, kind of connects them like a magnetic force, and it'll actually flush your minerals out of you. So make sure that you're drinking water that actually has those minerals, or electrolytes is often the buzz that's used on that, but don't always believe what you're reading on the packages of things. Rest when you need it. As I said, listen to your body. Even God had to rest on the seventh day, so we all need to as well. View your body as a system of supply and demand. It adapts to how you use it. Give it time. As far as like bone density for women, osteoporosis is such a big topic right now, because we're getting weaker and weaker, younger and younger. And so impact type things will help you to build down that bone structure. It'll help you to be able to stay stronger for longer, because if you're using your bones and needing that structure because of the physical strain that you're putting on your body, it'll in the end be a good thing. Overcoming obstacles, and I'd love to open this up at this point and say we don't quite have time. There are so many obstacles, there's so many things that are inevitably going to happen. But the big thing is, just remember, if you make that commitment to yourself, make that commitment to God and say, I am starting over for the last time, and God, please help me. And look through the Bible, and if you apply so many of the verses that you can read throughout the Bible that give encouragement about strength and endurance and how God is there for you, and just look to God. They're all over, and apply that to this new life that you are creating. These are some of the verses that are my favorites to go to for that inspiration. I can go back to those if anybody wants to go down later. But in closing, if we can take anything away from this, please know that, yes, God does care about your fitness. Absolutely. And as a human race, we should all care about each other's fitness as well. Because if I'm not healthy enough to be doing my part, I'm bogging down the entire body of Christ. And so if each of us are doing our part, we'll be making progress in the right direction. Take a personal inventory and be really honest with yourself. What are my excuses? Write them down. Why is it that I don't work out? One of the biggest ones that I'll just touch on that was in the overcoming obstacles is lack of time. But the reality is, it's a perception of lack of time. I'm a really busy person, and I sometimes will say that. There are times where I have to prioritize sleep over working out, but if you make it a priority, for instance, if you don't have time to work out, you should not know what happened in the latest episode of Breaking Bad. So make sure you get your priorities straight. Be really honest. Do some soul searching. Have an action plan. Set, this is what I'm going to do. They talked in the Daniel plan about scheduling that. Schedule your time as if it's an appointment that you have and you cannot be late. And then find your why. That's one of the biggest things. Why? If your reason is because I want to look at a bikini in Mexico, that has an end date and it's probably not a hugely successful big why. But in the meantime, you could use your why as because when we are healthier, we are happier, we are more confident, we're more optimistic, we're more energetic, we are better people. We're promoted to better husbands and wives and daughters and sons, employees, employers, better friends. We're better Christians, and collectively we are a better body of Christ. So use that as your why, but really think about it. What is your why? When I'm training really hard in the gym and somebody asks me, what are you training for? Presumably I'm going to say, oh, I'm doing some kind of fitness competition or show. Say, so I can play with my grandkids. And they'll always give me a funny look, like, you have grandkids? Like, no, but I hope to someday. And I really want to be able to get down on my hands and knees and crawl around and play trucks with my grandson. And that's the reality. I want to be able to be healthy late in life and be able to do that. Maybe yours is to be able to dance with your wife at your granddaughter's wedding, or enjoy retirement once you're there. So figure out what your why is and write it down and have it front and center so that you always can remember that. I have one thing that I want to throw out quickly about food, because the food piece is so powerful. This is one of my favorite and most impactful quotes. Socrates said, let thy food be thy medicine, and keep that in mind, that when you're eating, you know, the cheat day thing is a big buzzword type concept right now, buzz concept, I guess we could call it, but really look at what is it doing to you. And there's some great nutritional resources that I've included as well. worldshealthiestfoods.com, cornucopia.org, and westonaprice.org. Those are 3 websites that I trust and look to when I'm looking for who can I trust, who's doing it right, because it's virtually impossible to do all of the research yourself. So, in closure, repair and maintain the temple that God gave you, because that is your vehicle for this life. And you cannot be given an important message or an important task if you do not have a reliable vehicle. So thank you very much. And anybody that wants to contact me with questions, there's my contact information.